Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Friday Night Knives. Tonight I'm going to be trying the Phantom Hands format, and I'm going to be reviewing the Urban EDC Supply Special Edition F5.5 designed by Jesper Voxnaes. I was lucky enough to get one of the early ones, if you can see there, in LMAX. I got the challenge coin. Mine is, if you can see, they're number 211. So I was one of the lucky ones to get in on the early release and drop. So a little bit of awesomeness there for me. And you can still get these coins. They're just not engraved with the number. I was lucky enough to do that. I got the micarta version. They have titanium. They have brown micarta, green micarta. They had titanium. They now have carbon fiber and all sorts of other stuff that wasn't available at the time, but I got the LMAX. First things first, spoiler alert, this is a Jesper Voxnaes design that is executed well. If you need me to say more, then by all means stay tuned, as I will go into depth about how much I like this thing or how much I don't like it. But if you are aware of Jesper Voxnaes, pretty sure you already know it's one of his designs. It's executed well, and that's probably all you'll need to know. If not, by all means stay tuned, because this is a Jesper Voxnaes design that is executed well, has many nice little design touches, as well as premium and high quality components that make it an unusual knife in the pocket knife segment. First things first, it is an LMAX blade steel. It is a deep carry pocket clip. Not completely, there's just enough room for a lanyard. Again, it is slightly chamfered, so it gives a nice pull on there and is centered as well. Liner lock, nested liners that are also not skeletonized. I don't know if that's visible quite so much, but they are not skeletonized. Still a fairly decent amount of weight reduction with them being nested. Thick blade stock that is really nice. High flat grind that is almost, it's not a completely 100% flat grind. Little bit of sabering on the top here, but it basically is with that drop sheep's cliff worn foot. I'm going with the sheep's cliff because it's got a drop nose. Very, very handy shape. Nice curves. It is relatively small. It's got a fairly thin behind the edge. I don't have calipers or anything to give you exact measurements. I can only give you relative. Very stout on the edge. Good ergos. Slim in the handle, thick in the blade stock, and tall, which gives it a fairly unique handling characteristic. And with the short handle back there, in my hand, it fits pretty good. You can really just, without much shift of the grip, really get up in there. You turn it around, you get a little bit of grip there in the palm of your hand, so you can turn it and get, instead of just turning your hand, you can just rotate the blade. Choked up, gets a really good slicing capacity this direction. My personal favorite and one of my all-time favorites is the pinch grip or modified pinch grip, where you really have your knuckle on the top. This facilitates that well with the chamfering, as well as the type of choil on the front. Another one that this one has is, if you're using this sort of as, it does have a Santoku vibe, and the cutouts that make a nice little aesthetic echo to the deployment hole also actually provide a decent amount of slight pinch grip that you could use to do food prep or slivis if you needed to in a pinch. It's an interesting bit that happens to facilitate. The rest is standard. You get a choil that was meant to be used. This coming back on this thing puts your hand back, and you can make some chopping motions with it, but it's meant to have the forward choil. The action is good. It's running on bearings. It doesn't take much to do it. It's deployment hole only. but it is well tuned. The detent is nice. It takes very, very little. Oh, I might have to. Oh, yeah, but it'll even do it with a pretty hard little thwack. But really, you can, even slow rolling it is it kind of jumps out a little bit. So it's got a fairly good T-tent that allows it to jump right out. Wonderful, wonderful ergonomics. It's good for most sized hands. I'm sort of a medium sized fingers, but a large sized palm. It's good for my hand. I really like this for an EDC. It gives you the thumb on top. You can really do a fairly decent pinch grip on there to do stuff this direction. Roll it over fairly easy to do it that way. The only thing is you have to be really careful. Is that little nip right there? She's sharp, so you got to really be careful in your handling when you start moving fast. That being said, do a couple of size comparisons here. We'll do a random household object. In this case, it will be a Pilot G2 Mini. As you can see there, that is the size. In addition to that Pilot G2 Mini, we will see this is what it is when compared to a ruler. So you can see it happens to mark out approximately 7 of those 1-inch marks. With almost exactly 3 inches of blade length to things slightly less, and about 2 5/8 straight across cutting edge. Wonderful, wonderful small numbers for the size. If you don't know Jesper Voxnaes, he has a really, really good eye and knowledge and intuition for EDC size and style knives. All right, on some other size comparisons. Random ones that really have nothing to do with it. We have a Kershaw Blur in the CPM M4 Special Edition, and we have the Doug Ritter Hogue RSK Mini. To give you an idea, it is smaller than the Blur, closer in overall length to the Mini, taller carry profile, taller handle profile, more handle filling, slightly less edge, but you get that choil and that high flat grind that gives it that wonderful slicing profile. No contouring on the handle like on the Ritter RSK. The Blur reminds me a little bit more where you have sort of the inset liners. They're not really milled out much, but it gives you that nice thin profile. This one has kind of the thinner blade stock. It is the CPM M4 Special Edition, made in the USA. And of course the recurve, where you get another high grind on that one with a little bit of relief swedge. Some other knives that we will jump right in there. Other EDC specials for a little bit more hand filling there. You got the Kershaw Dividend, that one is CPM D2. And then you have the Kershaw Leak. As you see, it is closer on an overall length to the Kershaw Leak. With a similar cutting edge, but much higher grind, much more hand filling. There's a little more hand room on the Dividend, but no choil, but nowhere near the blade length or height. Coming into a couple others now, a little bit different on the size. The Wee Banter, the Ben Banter's design, and the Honey Badger Worn Cleaver Medium in D2. As you can see, the Wee Banter is a slightly smaller package, close to the same blade length and design without the choil, without a lot of things in order to get it to a slightly smaller package. Very high grind, but not quite as high as the F5.5. The Worn Cleaver is a really nice comparison. It's a little bit more hand. It's got a little bit choil, similar length, and a little bit larger with deep carry. It is also very close to the same size and carry profile, and also very similar in size, close length. But it has the pocket pecker. If that is an issue, there is definitely a solution. This one is cheaper by far, and you get the contoured FRN handles with the inset liners. It's a good deal. It's a good knife. Very similar in use profile and capabilities, but while I love my Honey Badger, I actually believe the F5.5 to be the more elegant solution in this particular class of knife. One more little comparison here as far as certain aspects go: Civivi Elementum in green micarta, and then the Civivi Ortis. This one is the fancier Ortis with the Damascus and the carbon fiber handle that goes for a little bit more. But it gives you an idea, again, of where they sit. Overall length, very, very close to the Civivi Elementum. And handle length, very close to the Ortis. So you get a little bit of the best of both worlds with a cutting edge similar to the Elementum. A larger, more hand-filling profile. You get a lot more space on the Ortis, but you don't need it so much. It's a nice middle ground between those two sizes. The action, by the way, absolutely fantastic. I believe this is made by one of the Chinese firms. And then to round it all off, I'm going to do a quick comparison to some other Voxnaes designs here. First up is the Ace Biblio. Another high flat grind that goes right up. Similar in size, similar in style. The contoured handles on the Biblio give it a slightly narrower profile in the hand. It is the M390 steel as well. Very similar blade edge geometry, but different in this one is more of the worn foot, I would say, where it's a little bit pointier out there and it has a bit more of curve to it. Fantastic knife. And then the budget option, that is Jesper, the new CRKT Pilar 3. Similar design, a little bit narrower, similar boxy with the thick blade stock construction. It actually kind of sits in the hand a little bit tighter if you're going to be doing some harder work. But as far as EDC work goes, it is tight. You can definitely see the family resemblance here, the Biblio and the CRKT Pilar 3 being outstanding knives in their own right. That being said, the bad parts of this, really, this little thing right here. That little corner is probably the number one complaint I'm going to have about this. There is so much opportunity for when you just flip it around to nick your finger on that as you maneuver this around. It puts it where you need to have basically one thing, and then you need to keep your finger off of it when you maneuver it. It really requires a bit of thought that shouldn't be there for something that is otherwise ergonomically so sound. If ergonomically this is a 9.8 or a 9.9, then the one or two flaws that it has really stand out. And that pointy little sharp thing that'll get your finger stands out because the rest of it is just so darn good. The micarta on it is smooth, well finished, but grippy as micarta is. It looks easy to pull apart. I have not pulled it apart to do maintenance. This is regular break-in. It is not completely drop shut, but it's a controlled, and the ease with which it snaps out is really just, I mean, it's hard to explain. It's smooth. I'm trying to almost fail it so I can show you just how easy it is, but it's pretty snappy with just the lightest touch. The weight balance is good. It keeps it right behind the pivot, so it puts it right either behind or under your knuckle. Jimping up there for your thumb. If you want to get really up there, you can easily choke up on it and finger the blade. It's also extraordinarily easy to just roll over and put your finger up and get a little bit on that jimping and start doing things if you need to do little craft cuts or really have that tip control, which is really what this blade is. It's really something for opening long draw cuts, slide cuts. You get that easy tip control without having to worry about the thrust. And you get that long flat grind that just lets it just peel through lots of material in what can be long or short cuts. It's a fantastic, probably my favorite part about this choil is if I use this to open letters, I can just drop my thumb right in there and slide it along. It works really good. You can do it like this, but it doesn't take much. My thumbnail gets right up on there. And that's probably the easiest use I have found for that choil in a daily setting besides the normal go through. I like the pinch on this. This is a box opener and cardboard destroyer. And in general, everyday use, a fantastic knife. Again, I am a Jesper Voxnaes fan, but this one, man, if you want to head over to Urban EDC Supply and see what they got left, I'm sure they have some, but there's a reason these sell out fast, and it's because they're really good. Titanium, Elmex, there's my Carta carbon fiber titanium handles, all sorts of different stuff. It's a worthwhile knife designed by someone who's well known for having it, and it lives up to the tradition. There are very few flaws, and the only reason they stand out is because the rest of the knife is just so darn good. Again, the Urban EDC Supply F5.5. It is just such a really smooth, good, everyday carry knife that if you're going to pull one and you're like, what's Elmex? It's M390 with a little bit less edge retention, a little bit more toughness, and it's a little bit easier to sharpen and similar corrosion resistance. I love it. The factory edge is good. It's razor sharp. It's hard not to recommend this knife. In fact, I can't. I recommend it. If there's any left, go get it. It's worth the money. It's a little bit up there around the $200 mark, but it's the kind of knife that will last a long time and you will not regret purchasing. This is Andrew, and that's another edition of Friday Night Knives with the F5.5 from Urban EDC Supply and Voxnaes Design.